You're watching CTV News Channel. I'm Roger Peterson. Thank you very much for joining us. We begin with a live look at the White House and right beside it, Parliament Hill. As we begin with breaking news on the Canada-U.S. trade war, President Donald Trump is once again threatening to impose sweeping tariffs on Canadian imports. Trump is accusing Canada of financially retaliating against the U.S. In an open letter to Prime Minister Mark Carney, Trump said, starting August 1st, they will charge a 35% tariff on all Canadian goods going into the U.S., in addition to tariffs already in place on sectors like steel and aluminum. Trump also threatening if Canada retaliates and raises tariffs, the U.S. will raise them the same amount plus the 35%. Now, Prime Minister Mark Carney responding late last night saying Canada would work toward a revised deadline of August 1st in reaching a new trade deal with the U.S. instead of the old one of July 21st. Carney says Canada has made vital progress in stopping fentanyl at the border, something Trump still claims as a justification for his tariffs. The PM also says Canada is focusing on strengthening its economy by boosting internal trade and strengthening partnerships around the world. And CTV's Jeremie Charron joins me now from Ottawa with the latest on this. Jeremie, what do we know and what is Canada saying?
Roger, look, I mean, this is the latest complication in the ongoing trade war saga, if you will. This is a resetting of the deadline that was agreed upon at the G7, which was July 21st. Now we have that new target, as you've touched on, of August 1st, which is when these new 35% tariffs would take effect. And as you've touched on, Donald Trump is quite clear. If Canada decides to respond or retaliate to these tariffs, that 35% would be on top of anything that Canada responds with. So Donald Trump taking kind of a strong stance here, if you will, in trying to clarify some of his priorities, if you when it comes to negotiations. That is what it would appear to look like, right? And Canada has taken the approach so far. We've heard from the Prime Minister in a statement online. He's not expected to comment any further today at this point, or make an on-camera appearance to discuss this or make any further comments. But the position appears so far to be that this is going to kick negotiations into high gear and that Canada will be focused on an August 1st deadline to get a deal done ahead of that deadline for those tariffs, obviously to try and avoid the implication of those 35% tariffs. But Donald Trump has returned to something that hasn't been discussed kind of in some time, Roger, which is fentanyl. He references the fact that that was the whole reason for the tariffs on Canada in the first place, and that if Canada works with the U.S. on tackling the fentanyl crisis, that there is room for adjusting these tariffs, is what he outlined. Now, it's important to outline Canada in December of 2024 invested $1.3 billion in a plan to tackle, the fentanyl crisis at the border, increased border security. They appointed a fentanyl czar. And, having done all of that, still, Roger, fentanyl seized at the U.S. border, only 1% of it is coming through Canada. Mexico is the far greater threat for that when it comes to the fentanyl crisis in the U.S. Despite that, this is a focus for Donald Trump, and so Canadian officials have made it clear they'll continue to work with the president on this issue, but certainly they have made significant investments already in terms of trying to tackle the fentanyl crisis.
And does this change the negotiations and talks that are going on, or is it they're still going ahead with hopes of that August 1st the new deadline now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to change some things. You would think that negotiators are now going to be focused on perhaps different things. U.S. and Canadian officials, part of the negotiation team, are going to be, taking different approaches now. Trump has clearly taken a new stance. We've heard him continue to repeat a few things. He's talked about supply management. Obviously the digital services tax was something that was a focus for him, as we saw last week or the week prior. We've kind of seen in some of his public statements what his priorities are going to be in negotiations, or presumably, who knows, ultimately. But I think this does kind of change negotiations. It probably changes the Canadian side's approach Obviously, now there's a new deadline, so there's a little bit more time to work with. But it's a new deadline that comes with a pretty strict or pretty tangible consequence if you don't make that deadline, and that's a 35% tariff on all Canadian imports as of August 1st. So this certainly changes things. I would expect we'll see negotiation talks kick into high gear here, as Canada will be certainly focused on trying to get a deal done as soon as possible here.
Okay. Jeremie, thanks as always.
Anytime, Roger.